And we are in this series on paradoxes for the month of April, looking at the power of paradox. And I'm saying the power of paradox because I had a teacher who was a spiritual teacher who once really encouraged all of us students to consider that a master, a spiritual master, is one who can be at peace even in the midst of the paradoxes of life. And pointed out that there are many paradoxes in which we must become at peace with. And so that became our practice for quite a while with this teacher. Paradox essentially is things that appear to contradict each other, concepts, ideas that appear to contradict each other. So within contradiction, there is deep opportunity for spiritual awakening. So this month I've been grabbing hold of some of the paradoxes that I see exist in the world and inviting us to explore them and deepen our understanding and our practice and our mastery of them to gain greater sense of happiness and well-being. And today's paradox is the paradox of loving ourselves. When we love ourselves, the contradiction may be that others around us have a perception that we're selfish. And if we don't love ourselves, we find our life not fully expressed. And so we want to talk about this and explore this today. And when I say we, it is because I have a special guest. I've been telling you that I had a special guest today, and we do have a guest. He is a young man that has been a part of our community for a while. And when we had John DeMartini here once, a long time ago, after the conference, I was talking to John, and so was this young man, Jesse. And Jesse was expressing to John how he wanted to be a motivational speaker like John is, and how he wanted to do the same thing. And John, of course, was encouraging him. And Jesse had such a presence about him and such a confidence about him that it really struck me how powerful he was. And since that time, Jesse has gone on to express himself in a number of ways. And one of those ways is that he wrote a book called The Magic Forest. This is it. It is published and available for sale, and I'm happy to say he'll be in the bookstore today signing copies if you'd like to purchase one. It's a beautiful story for adults and kids alike, and so we encourage you to join him in the bookstore afterwards for a look at this book. In addition to that, Jesse's been on a radio program, and I think taking every chance that he can to speak and be an expression of what it is he dreams to do. So I've asked him to be here today for this topic in particular because he's a shining example. Keep in mind, I believe he's, how old are you, 11? 11 years old. And he's here today. I'm giving him about 10 minutes of today's message so that he can share with us his idea of self-image and how to have a better self-image. Please welcome Jesse Dowell.
Thank you for the introduction. That was great. So to get right down into the topic, self-image, I'm going to be talking about, and self-love, how to keep a high self-image, and what it is, what it means. So to get right down into that, here are a couple examples of a situation where you would need a high self-image or to have self-love. Say you're going for a job interview, and you don't get the job. And most people would be down and say, wow, this wasn't a good job for me, I'm bad, I can't get a job. But a person with high self-image, or a high self-image, would say, well, it might not be the right job for me. Maybe I would feel that they would need a good person for the job, and I would need a better job, and I want to get the right job for me. Also, one example of self-love was when I was in 4th grade. I was transitioning schools and checking out some different schools. And when I eventually did find the correct school that I wanted to go to, the first couple days, or actually weeks, I was having some anxiety. Because in 4th grade, my teacher was she was kind of a shaming teacher, and she was pretty mean. So I didn't like that very much, and none of the class did either. So I switched schools at that period in time, and when I went to the other school, I was having anxiety about whether that teacher would be nice and whether she would like me and whether she would not be shaming or whatever, things like that. And my mom helped me through that a lot, my beautiful, lovely mom. Hopefully I get some brownie points for that. But she helped me a lot getting through that anxiety, and we actually read a book called Sarah, and I'm pretty sure it's like the Chronicles of Sarah or something, but I think so. But it's a great book, and it helped me through it a lot because some of the teachings in there were really good because the girl who is in that book, the base of the book, she was going through the same thing I was. She was going through a rough time in school. And so when we read that, I got a lot of different techniques of how to figure out what to do and how to feel better and everything. And one of my favorite ones that I think is a valuable lesson to teach you guys is your valve. When it's closed, you don't get energy and you feel sad and less self-confident. But when you open it, well, not literally opening, but if you just open it, and then you get this energy, the flow of energy, kind of like water falling on you, and it fills you up with self-confidence and a high self-image. And actually, a friend of mine, just 10 minutes ago, showed me a really good exercise to relate self-image and self-respect and self-caring. So if you have a $10 bill, when it's perfect and stretched out, $10 bill. When you crumple it up, throw it to the floor, stomp on it, what is it? Still a $10 bill. But then you can unravel it, and it'll still be a $10 bill, no matter how badly you crumple it, or crinkle it, or put sores on it, or whatever. It's still a $10 bill when you unravel it again, and you can still pay for things with it. So that's kind of an exercise you can do with yourself. No matter how badly people crumple you down and shame you and do whatever to make you feel bad, you can still unravel yourself and be the greater person that you are. So, with that being said, when you would go back to the interview and you wouldn't get it, and then you would go, oh wow, well I can still unravel myself even though I just shamed myself. I'm still a good person, I'm still the best person I can be, and maybe the job wasn't just for me. And that's what I did with my experience with the school. So then after, I think the second week when I was in school, I felt better about myself and I was doing really well and I was getting good grades and everything, so I was happy. And another example of self-love and talking to yourself and self-talk, which is the most important thing to keep a high self-image, because the definition of self-image is what you think of yourself based on what other people say to you and what you say to yourself. So if you shame yourself and say, I'm not a good person, I can't do this, blah, 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 then your self-image goes and crinkles up. But then you can unravel it and feel better about yourself. So when I was starting out speaking and doing my career and everything, my early career, there were a few people who were, when I was talking to some people about speaking and writing a book, some people said that I was too young to do it and I couldn't do it and nobody would listen to me and that I wasn't good enough to do it, basically. And so what I then said to myself was, well, I'm fine. I can still do it. They don't know me. I can do whatever I want. I'm a better person. I know I can do this. So that's what I did. And it helped me through, and so that helped me through, and obviously they were wrong because I'm here speaking. Thank you.
Jesse, no! How many of you are thinking, when I was 11 years old, yeah. Oh, stop that self-talk right now. Because Jesse is a shining example of that bright-centeredness that is at the core of us. Thank you for that beautiful message today, Jesse. Beautiful invitation into self-love and to honor and acknowledge ourselves at such a young age. And so that is the power. That is the joy of self-love is in being who we are and following our dreams. I'm sorry, I seem to have something in my eye. A little self-love in my eye right now. And so we joyously get to continue to use this inspiration that he's given us to explore this topic and continue to expand on some of his wonderful points and examples that he's given us today. And I think he's right on, that it is self-talk that keeps us most from being able to love ourselves. What we say to ourselves about ourselves, based on what we think we know about ourselves, and based on what we think other people think of us, and based on what other people have told us about ourselves, we let all of that shape our sense of self. And so there's an invitation here for us to enter into a new level of self-love and peace about ourselves. Lucille Ball, who's one of my heroes, said something that I think is very wise. Love yourself first, and everything else falls into line. You really have to love yourself to get anything done in the world. And yet this is the last thing we think we have to do to get things done, isn't it? Oftentimes we think we've got to get everybody else to love us, everybody else to like us, everybody else to want us, everybody else to agree with us in order for us to have what we want in the world. But Lucille Ball is suggesting that when we truly do love ourselves, everything else begins to fall into place. When we love, honor, respect, and allow ourselves to be who we are and accept ourselves, there is a groundedness within our lives that is magnificent and magnetic. And I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, 99.9% of what's not happening in your life or mine, what's not going well, what's not to our liking, what's not acceptable, what's not okay, what is not coming true in terms of our dreams and desires, is all about a degree of a lack of self-love and acceptance that we haven't given ourselves. We are, as a society, intensely afraid of certain things. We're afraid of abandonment. We are afraid that people will abandon us. And a lot of our actions and choices are all about a defensive mechanism to make sure that we are not left alone. We are afraid of rejection, that people won't like us or won't love us or won't accept us just the way we are. And so a lot of our actions are a defensive mechanism to make sure that we meet whatever standards are necessary so that other people will love us. And we're afraid of betrayal. We're afraid of people betraying us and being untrustworthy and not being their best around us. And so a lot of our actions are in defense to that. But here's the thing. This is how the law of attraction works. The first person who abandons us, rejects us, and betrays us is us. Don't think for a minute, for a second, that you and I can walk around in our life with constant thoughts of how icky and unlovable and untalented and ugly and horrific we are, and the world won't at least agree with us and let us know that they agree with us. Nor do we get to think for 1 minute that we get to spend time lavishing ourselves with such hatred and that the law of attraction won't work then. Because that's exactly how the law works. You and I go into a job opportunity, as Jesse mentioned, great example, for an interview, and all the while thinking, please don't reject me. Please, let me have this job. Please, I'm desperate for work. Please, I need this, I need this, I need this. That's really attractive, isn't it? And then we wonder, why didn't they hire me? Or we, at the very least, walk in not feeling confident in ourselves, not feeling confident, not necessarily in the confidence I'm talking about is the confidence not to say, this is my job, everyone else be damned, but the confidence to say, I know that I have a place in this world where I can share my gifts and talents. Let's see if this is it. And I'll know that it's it because they'll either hire me or they don't. If they don't hire me, it's not right for me and it's not right for them. That's a big difference. Because what happens when we don't get hired, we don't get the date, we don't get the love we want from people, is we become dejected. I saw Jesse stand like that. You know, we go like this. Nothing in us thinks to go, oh, okay. But that's exactly what I'm inviting us to do. To develop a level of self-love that can stand in the midst of any of that. Now, we are afraid often to do that for many reasons, because then people will think we're really full of ourselves. And we're really, an egomaniac, and we're really arrogant. But I love what Ashley Brilliant says about that. Ashley Brilliant says, who causes more trouble in the world? People with too little self-esteem or people with too much? Think about that for a minute. My first point today is that loving myself is vital for me to be successful. Because people who have low self-esteem, people who don't love, honor, respect, and think highly of themselves no matter what, are the people who are hurting themselves and other people. They're the people who are the, quote, criminals of our world. They are the people who are the people who are so insecure they're ripping other people off, whether they're a corporate man or woman or somebody on the streets who's conning people out of their money. They are the people who are in politics saying that they're all about helping the world, but all the while having other agendas. They are world leaders. They are teachers and people in all walks of life. The degree to which we continue to play small like that is the degree to which our world continues to be destructive. Now, somebody who practices high self-esteem, who chooses to practice high thoughts, who chooses to say, I'm going to choose the high road and believe in myself and affirm myself and accept myself no matter what, they're not the arrogant idiots on the planet. They're the people who are making dreams come true. They're the people who are starting businesses. They're the people who are going out and innovating and creating new things for the world. But we make them wrong. We criticize them. We look at people like that and say, well, he's just an egomaniacal idiot, But I'd rather have more of those than those of us who walk around like this all the time in the world. And so this is a call, an invitation towards that greater walk. Accepting and honoring ourselves. Mark Twain says, a man cannot be comfortable without his own approval. And Tom Wilson in the Ziggy comic strip says, happiness, it's no coincidence that I is at the center of every happiness. So we, in order to be success, when we choose to love and honor and accept ourselves, in the moments of our success, in the moments of our, quote, failure, in the moments when we do well, in the moments when we don't, in the moments when we get what we want, in the moments when we don't, we continue to reverberate into the law of attraction, into the world of magnetic energy on our behalf. It's okay. It's coming. It's okay. It's okay. I'm okay. I'm okay. It's okay. I believe. I believe. Now, I get some of you already. I can hear you thinking right now, but I've been having to do that for a really long time. Just keep doing it. Just keep, as Dory would say, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming. Ooh, 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 ooh. So you have to just keep doing it. This is something that for many of us, our entire life has been dedicated to self-hatred, to self-criticism, to making ourselves wrong at every step. And it takes some conscious effort on our part often to switch the trend, to get ourselves thinking in a new direction. But we can do it. And when we do it, our lives are truly changed for the better. My next point, Loving myself means giving up my obsession about what others think of me. That's what Jesse spoke to. You know, here he is, 11 years old, wanting to have these dreams, and somebody around him is already telling him, oh, no one will listen to you. You're just a kid. And him having the strength to go, yeah, I'm a kid. Someone will listen to me. It's okay. Believe what you want. We are absolutely sometimes obsessed with what other people think about us. And we think it really matters what other people think about us. It only matters to the degree that we let it. And so one of the first lessons in life that we begin to have when we start to choose to love ourselves is that what other people think about me is none of my business. Now, I'm not talking about a radical meanness. See, there's this radical place that people go where it's like, what do you think of me? 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 And that guides my every direction. And then there's this other side of the polarity that says, I don't care what you think of me. I'm going to do whatever I want. Then that's the radical side. And sometimes we dance in the polarity. I get that. The middle ground is really more of a like, wow, that's interesting to hear what you think about me. Let me see if it's true for me or not. If it's true for me, then I take it for heart. If it's not true for me, I thank you for sharing. And I get on with my life. But we let, in that definition Jesse gave of self-image, we let that part about what other people think of us be the primary focus of our willingness to love ourselves or not. And what he's suggesting, and I agree, is that the only opinion that counts is us. And that we have every right to accept, love, and cherish ourselves just as we are, imperfections and all. And that to the degree that we get about doing this, our lives expand in the joyous ways that we've always wanted to experience that greater expansion. Now, here's what I know. I know that most of you are probably in agreement with me. Some of you are arguing with me. I can feel it. But most of you are going, okay, that's true. But like I say here all the time, it's not enough just to talk about it. How do we do this? How do we actually do the things that we're talking about? Well, Jesse's example of self-talk, huge. One of the greatest gifts that Science of Mind has given me, this teaching has given me, is the gift of self-observation. In the teachings, in the practice, in the going through classes, the gift of constantly by my teachers to look at what were you thinking? What were you thinking? What were you thinking? What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What's going on inside of you? Notice it, notice it, notice it. Deal with it, heal it, correct it. That is the work. It is the diligent work of anyone who wants to begin to expand their life. So it's a waking up to paying attention to ourselves, and in some very clear ways. Here are some of the ways that I think our self-talk might reveal itself in greater self-love. They include resting and stopping when you're tired. Gosh. Yeah. We don't listen to ourselves at all when it comes to that. And most of it is driven by what other people need from us. They need me to work this hard. They need me to get this done. They need me to do this. They need me to do that. And often completely overriding our own patterns, our own body temple that says, for God's sakes, will you just rest a little? And so if we're not connected to our self-talk, we'll miss those urgings from the physical body. But self-love is listening to the body temple, is resting and feeding it and nurturing it and allowing it to be at peace. And it's about sharing our thoughts and ideas freely. How many of us have ever left a meeting or a relationship or a conversation thinking, I wish I would have said that. I wish I would have said that. Yeah, Jesse has. Thank you, Jesse. I wish I would have said that. And that wishing is sometimes because we thought about something brilliant later, but a lot of times we were sitting there with it the whole time, and we just didn't have the chutzpah to share it. We just couldn't do that. And it is often because there's something in us that doesn't believe that what we have to say is worthy enough, or that our ideas are stupid, or that people are going to laugh at us because we had a different idea. And so this becomes a source for many of us of a place that we just squish ourselves right down. We just don't share what we're thinking in moments when it really matters. If this is an issue for you, I urge you to find a buddy, a friend, someone in whose presence you do feel loved and accepted, and say, okay, I need a relationship where no matter what, I can say what I'm thinking, and I can have permission to say what I think at all times. And it may not always agree with you, it may not always be what you like, but I got to practice this because I'm horrible at this. Maybe I can't do it at work, but I can do it with a few friends. But expanding that sense of self-love is the willingness to say, hey, I have an idea, and have everyone in the room laugh and say, that is so stupid, and go, okay, just thought I'd share it. Self-love. What have we got to lose? See, what we've got to lose is if we believe that their opinions about our ideas matter at all, then we've got losing face, feeling humiliated. But if we've got a sense of not every idea that I think is going to be some brilliant perfection in everyone's minds, but God willing, I'm sharing myself. I'm speaking myself. I'm letting me express. I'm letting me be me. And so allowing myself to do that in certain realms of my life is a way that we practice and live out self-love. Finding ways to share our emotions and feelings is another way that we live out self-love. We let ourselves share when we're feeling joy, and when we're feeling sadness, and when we're feeling confused, and when we're feeling upset. We find ways to express that are healthy and vibrant and forward the nature of our relationships. And that's part of how we love ourselves. See, we think if I share these negative feelings, that's not very loving. It's not loving to feel anger or frustration. Now, I agree and I admit, and have talked many times about, I've never found in any relationship that my sharing and raging at someone in anger forwards the relationship all that well. But I do believe that sharing those feelings in some way, shape, or form, expressing them, is vital. So whether I go journal about them, whether I call someone else who's not that person and say, I'm so mad at them, who helps me get back to center, whether I go and I work out or go for a run or I beat a pillow or I sometimes scream in my car, I drive along. If you ever see me driving down the street going, ah, oh, there's Reverend Michelle doing your anger work. Because it helps. I scream a lot louder. I won't do it here because Mister's not here. Ooh, he left the booth. Maybe I should scream. No, I won't do it. So it's about finding ways to be an expression of those feelings and emotions and letting ourselves have them, because they are a gift. They are a gift of guidance. They are a gift of self-revelation. They are a gift that helps us see who we are and what's going on for us, and gives us the strength and the power to fully express ourselves. And they're worthy of expressing. And follow your dreams, even in small steps. I just love that Jesse has dreams, and he's already about following them. And here many of us are way further on in our lives. And since we were 10 years old, we thought, maybe I should, and we haven't done a thing about it. Even, I know for me, a lot of times I face a project, and I'm kind of guilty of thinking, if I can't do it all, then I'm not going to do any of it. Like cleaning out a room. If I can't get it all done right now, then I'm not even going to start. It's like my little excuse never to start. I'm sure I'm the only one in the room with this problem. But every day being willing to be present to the things that we dream about, whether it be that we do some research on the internet, or we read biographies of people who are living their dreams the way we would like to, or we talk to other people who are doing what we'd like to do, that we're doing a little something every day to love ourselves enough to say, my dreams are worthy. My dreams, my goals, my intentions, my desires of having the life that I wish to live is truly worthy. And I show myself this by loving myself enough to just give myself a little taste of my genius every day. Just a little bit. And that leads to the next one, giving of our gifts and talents. When we love, honor, and accept ourselves, we give it away. We share. We're not afraid. Some of us are afraid to share our gifts and talents as in a volunteer fashion, in our workplace, because we're afraid of rejection, or we're afraid it's not good enough, or we're afraid people won't like it. But when we give up that whole obsession about what other people think, and we realize that when we choose to share ourselves in this way, we raise ourselves up, we lift ourselves up, we begin to shift our vision and our intention. And lastly, Eric Butterworth talks about this in spiritual economics, and we brought it up in the workshop recently. Get good with God. And that means to me spiritual practice. Being willing to center ourselves in the living presence of life that is the source every single day is an act of self-love. Most people say that if any of us had a little taste of the way the universe truly envisions us, we would never struggle or suffer again. Because the love that the universe is so magnificent, and the acceptance that the source is about who each one of us is, has been, is becoming, is so vast and expansive, to get even a moment of the awareness of that can change us forever. And so this practice is a practice that is about returning us to ourselves. Never abandoning our thoughts again. Never abandoning our emotions. Never being willing to not be good enough in our own minds ever again, so that our continued expression can be true. I love that quote by Marianne Williamson, and I won't share it in its entirety, but many of you know it, where she talks about, it's not our darkness that we fear the most, it's our light. It's our light, because our light is the essence of our self-love. And it is there guiding us towards the greatest life we could ever imagine. And yet every day we are about thoughts and practices and habits of mind and action that play to our smallness, that continue to grow our sense of our small self, which then contributes that into the law, and then contributes to a life that bears that as witness to us, and then we feel discouraged. And it's a powerful stand to play to our greatness, to choose our greatness, to choose us, to never again be willing to abandon ourselves in any moment, at any time. Oh boy, let us love ourselves, and so it is.
What do I want? What do I desire? What will bring me to my highest good? What do I want? What do I desire? What will bring me to my highest? Sing after me. Prosperity.
Prosperity.
I claim it.
I claim it.
Abundance.
Abundance
Is mine.
mine.
Love.
Love
Flows through me.
comes to me.
I feel joy.
Joy.
All the time. Here we go. I can have it. I deserve it. I claim it. It is mine. I can have it. I deserve it. I